In today's video, Dr. Joe helps me answer what you should do after a binge.
By myself.
Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Revelia from ProPhysique.com, and Dr. Joe is still here with me on Monday after a Pro Physique camp that took place in Tampa, so I'm going to take advantage of that. I got a great question from one of my clients today, and immediately had Dr. Joe at my disposal, and since he's one of my go-tos for anytime something tough comes up in the fitness world, I wanted to pose this question to him, so we're going to discuss it. A client of mine checked in today and she had a blowout. She was coming out of a contest season, a particularly rough contest prep, and so she felt very beat up and very destroyed at the fact that she was not able to stick to her plan. And I can empathize with her because I've been there after a contest where you don't really feel like you have control of your urges and you're eating at a time when you're telling yourself, I don't need this, but it just kind of happens for an entire day. And so she was very concerned, so much so that she thought she may need medical attention, that she should give up competition, that she had failed me as a client. And I immediately told her, listen, this is just one day, it doesn't define you. But I thought it would be really cool to bring Dr. Joe in on this. So I'm sure you've seen this. I mean, as we both, you probably a lot more than I have. And so what is your initial thoughts when someone sends you an email like that?
The first thing I'm concerned about is, what did she think she needed medical attention for? What was that mindset?
Based on what I got from the email, it was that it was going to continue. So maybe psychological evaluation or something as in this is going to continue happening and she wanted to prevent it.
She didn't see rapid weight gain that concerned her. She didn't see any gastrointestinal distress, anything that would truly be medical?
She did see rapid weight gain.
Okay, how much?
I think she was 110 and then she was 120 after the day.
And that was, okay, so one full day. Yeah, absolutely. I would say, first of all, on the medical side, you can have some pretty severe cellular damage from rapid influx of nutrients, carbohydrates, sodium, that does create almost a hypernatremia situation where the cells start to actually explode because so much fluid is rushing in.
Oh, wow.
I did have a client one time do this who gained 30 pounds in one weekend after a show. Wow. And was in the hospital given diuretics and so forth. So it can be a dangerous situation. That's why I was concerned, first of all, with the word medical and seeing a doctor. But it doesn't sound like that's the case. It sounds like, as you said, just getting back on track, using some of those calories, using some of that glycogen would definitely start to pull that weight back down. What was your discussion like as far as food intake? Did you say just get back on the horse, or did you make any kind of changes? Yeah,
so the one thing I don't want to happen is to go into immediate restriction mode where you start to get into a position that you feel like, well, if I overeat, I'll just restrict to stay on. I just basically wanted her to go back to her normal training day macros. I said maybe lower carbohydrates a little bit, maybe go for a few extra walks, use those calories for some great training sessions, but most importantly, put a plan together where eating isn't reactive. Some people go from prep where they're so structured to then they're just eating meals as they go, and you put the peanut butter out while you're putting your meal together and then your hands in the peanut butter jar, and that just, then the guilt leads to an episode.
I always ask a client two questions. First of all, there is a physiological and a psychological component. So, I ask physiologically, if we just don't have food intake high enough, we might need to increase. So the first reaction is always to pull back. I had a binge, I need to starve myself now or go do 6 hours on the treadmill. And that would do the exact opposite. Then you're going to get into a cyclical pattern of doing the exact same thing. So as Paul said, just pulling back to your normal level, a little bit more activity. But instead of decreasing food, we might need to schedule some increases right away. But I also like to ask that psych question of, what were the circumstances that created this? Were you really feeling depleted and hungry? Or was it that something, social happened that just kind of started that cue and you kept going? Because we really do have to parse apart both sides and look at what potential interventions we might need, very simple things that we can plan for.
So do you suggest getting into a pattern of setting up your meals again if someone's gone from a flexible approach where they had a meal plan to a flexible approach where there's no meal plan, it's...
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's kind of my suggestion, is stop. You got to maybe treat it a little bit more like a planned approach.
and that's why in our videos this weekend, I talked so much about structured flexibility, and on the podcast is that is a danger. You're very, very structured going into a contest prep or any kind of a general population diet, and then all of a sudden it goes out the window and you can eat whatever you want. Even if you're just truly counting your calories and macros, it can still throw you off physiologically, psychologically. So to be able to rest back into some structure and then ease back in small layers of flexibility at a time helps not just psychologically, but truly physiologically. You need to control things like blood sugar and hormonal response.
Yeah, and I think the big takeaway for this client is that we're not competing again in a few months or even probably a year. She's a smaller competitor, and she needs time to put on muscle. So all of this can actually just set us up for successful training for this week and the coming months, instead of getting into a bad cycle. So I just wanted to remind her, we're in a building phase. You need to put on more muscle. So let's look at this as a positive, because at the end of the day, I want to build confidence. There's no benefit in my mind to kind of demeaning or giving yourself a feeling of guilt. We are bodybuilders. We'll use this as a benefit. As long as you're not stacking day after day, that's where I got into trouble after my first show. Was I didn't have a structure. I just kind of ate what I wanted, and I found myself up 15 pounds after a couple of days, and it was kind of disappointing after such a long prep. But
it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
You don't want to tell anybody.
Yeah, well, you go into the gym and, people immediately just realize, you just look completely different, and you look different, and your clothes fit different. So yeah, instead of, focusing on the negative and, like Joe said, restricting the next day, I always want us to get back on our calories. And, Dr. Campbell has shown that if you do a severe over-calorie refeeding, your metabolic rate does speed up quite a bit, acutely, so we can actually benefit from that.
Take advantage, yeah.
So it can be like a slingshot into some improvement metabolic rate.
Yeah, the one thing I would just follow up on is I love the fact that this client brought it to your attention, because I know a lot of clients, because of the embarrassment and the shame, just hide it.
Right.
And they might try and starve a little bit or do a lot of extra cardio and then just try and make up for it and hope you don't get it. You don't have to deal with that. And I've had clients, unfortunately, do that for an entire prep or an entire year, and they force the coach or the consultant to have to try and figure out, why are things not working? Why isn't this client improving? And then all of a sudden, a client says, "Oh yeah, I've been binging like crazy for the last year, and I just never told you." Whereas other clients will bring it to our attention right away, so we can really work through these things objectively and give you our full support and guidance. I think that's critical. So hats off to your client.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I really try to do is, I even state this in my programs, I'm not judging you. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to take the data, provide my support, and help us reach our goals together. So yeah, if there is ever a situation with your coach where you don't feel good or you don't trust that you can give them information without being, you've heard horror stories of coaches saying, "You're a terrible client."
Great stuff.
Yeah, that's not what you want to create. That's not the environment. And I hope that all my clients watching this, and all the people that have a coach, feel that they can bring this information to their coach, because I'm lucky enough to have resources like Joe, like Dr. Corey, and I feel like if it's not a situation that I am able to handle, I can't speak to Dr. Joe or Corey about it, or someone that's qualified, then I will I will suggest that this person reach out to someone who's qualified,
Definitely.
So I want to thank Dr. Joe. I'm getting ready to take him to the airport. It's been an awesome weekend. We did a podcast yesterday, Redefine Healthy Radio. Joe made his first Instagram post today?
Not yet. I'm working on it.
All right, so we're moving forward. Big things for Dr. Joe.
Anticipation is building.
So the podcast episode will be uploaded today. Karina's on that right now. So me and Lauren got to spend a little over an hour with Dr. Joe just talking about his history, and I think it'll be a great episode for all the listeners out there that are not familiar with Dr. Joe. And if you are familiar, I think we added some fun stuff in there too.
Episode number 9.
Number 9.
That's my number forever.
And he'll be back
Jersey
many times. So yeah. Thanks, bud. All right, guys. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Take care, guys.